Hello, my name's Jason and welcome to this video of my collection to date as well as all my model builds that you see here on my channel. So to start, this is the Eaglemoss DeLorean, completely rebuilt electronics. All the originals were removed and replaced with an Arduino system, so it's all remote controlled with lights and sounds. Lots of scratch built details added as well, little remote control as seen in the movie used by Doc. The flux capacitor was a keyring from a company called Mad Geeks, which was modified and fitted to the build. Lots of other little details added here and there. EL wire for the flux bands, and lots of little bits and pieces behind just to add to the collection. You can see detailed build videos for this DeLorean as well as all my other model making builds here on my channel, DHD Galactic Models, where I take them from early concept through construction, modifications, right up to the completed models you see here. The floor is removable and underneath is where all the Arduino electronics are housed. It was a tight squeeze, but just about got them in there. Anyway, moving on, this is a Levitating Delorean. It's from a company called Kids Logic. They're very hard to find these days. It really is an amazing little piece. Uses magnetic levitation and induction for the lighting. Cool little piece. Considering the size, it's nicely detailed. Obviously not to the level of the Eaglemoss DeLorean, but for a pre-built little collectible, it's pretty good. Moving on, we have a couple of battlestar galactica pieces. The Viper was actually the first model I built after getting back into model making after a 30-year break, which was spurred on by building DeLorean, got me back into building models. And then you got the Cylon Raider, which was my first foray into Arduino, so I added the lights and the scanner. A few more DeLorean bits and pieces, a couple of Funko Pops. That's one of the Welly DeLoreans. Signed photo. Not genuine signatures, I know, but makes a nice little display. This is a scratch-built drone I built from the movie Oblivion. Not an easy thing to make, being round, but it turned out okay in the end. Then there's a few Star Trek bits and pieces. You've got the Cylon behind with a Locutus of Borg Picard in front. A few of the Eaglemoss Star Trek starships. And a couple more down there. The Enterprise here has lights. That was just a little collectible. That's not one of the Eaglemoss ones. But it's pretty cool for what it is. Then moving up, this is one of my model builds next to the UFO abducting the cow. This is the Apollo 11 first moon landing, an old monogram kit, about 35 years old, that I picked up and modified and assembled. Above that, there's a few more Apollo collectibles, a few coins, and up in the corner here, an actual piece of the Kapton foil that was removed from the Apollo 11 before launch. A couple more bits and pieces, Mars probe coin. The astronaut at the back was from the D'Agostini Apollo build that never went ahead. Moving over, this is my Stargate theme build. The figures are Airfix figures, repainted to look like an SG team. The Stargate itself started life as a 3D printed coffee coaster, which I added the event horizon to and all the other details. Moving up, there's an Anubis statue, the X-304 ship from Stargate, and a piece of the original Iris from the early shows. It was later replaced with CGI, so it's quite a nice little piece to have. Now we'll quickly turn the lights out, just to show the lighting. First, the event horizon on the Stargate. It's just a glossy photo backlit with white LEDs, but it's very effective. Then back down to the Cylon radar. Now you can see the lighting more in effect. I know the scanner isn't canon, but I thought I'd add it as it represents the original series quite well, as that's what the Cylons had on their helmets. Then back across the Levitating Delorean, still rotating and still levitating. And then finally, back now to the DeLorean. You now see the added flame trails and wheel arch lighting that I added, as well as a few other bits and pieces. Anyway, that wraps it up for this area. Now we move upstairs. This is a cabinet I built that just cuts back into the loft space. It wasn't an area that could be used before, but now it is. This is the Hachette Bismarck, which I decided to stop building at this point and concentrate on other builds, but it was complete enough to make a nice little display. Got it coming through an old newspaper there, just to add a little bit of interest to it. A few other collectible pieces next to that, a couple of coins, a miniature Bismarck. And next to that we have the space battleship Yamato. Not something that's known very well in the West. It's a Japanese anime from the 70s, but it's a really cool design of a World War II battleship redesigned as a spaceship. This was released by Bandai back in about 2007. It's been completely decked out with Arduino control, with colour change lighting. The turrets are all motorised, the side cannons are motorised. This is the wave gun at the front, which has a full firing sequence, along with sound effects. It's all been painted and weathered. Then moving on from that, we have the start of my Thunderbirds collection. Only small, but it's growing slowly. We have all the Matchbox Tracy brothers to the side there. The big nose section for Thunderbird 2 at the back is actually the first 4 issues of the D'Agostini Thunderbirds release. I only had the first 4 issues and decided just to build those as a little display piece, but it sits nicely at the back. That's a gold special that I built recently. Again, it's quite hard to get to find. Few first day covers at the back there. That one's particularly good because it's got lenticular stamps. Do the countdown and a little launch sequence. All the vehicles in front, pod vehicles, the Fire Flash and various others are by Konami. They were released about 15 years ago in Japan. Again, quite hard to find over here. Behind that we have a couple of kits waiting to be built. The one on top is a crystal clear Thunderbird 2. You can see all the internal workings inside, so that will be an interesting little build. And below that we have the Mole, which is another nice piece. This here is my latest work, which is the D'Agostini Japan release of Thunderbirds Tracy Island. This is my progress so far. There's Thunderbird 2 in its hangar. Now you move to the top of the stairs. It's my Egyptian following head. Follows you everywhere you go. You can't get away from him. And he's standing guard over the Terminators. The head to the left was a cookie jar I picked up years ago. Just added the LED lights just to bring it to life. The forearm and the small head to the right are the Hachette T800, which I only built up to the issues that you see there, just to make a small display piece. You've got the plasma rifle sitting at the back there. Again, I didn't continue with the build as I wanted to move on to other things, but there's still enough parts there to make a nice little collection. And there's T800 staring away. Below that is another build that I made. This is my Terminator 2 themed diorama. It's made using various kits. The T800 endoskeletons are from a Pegasus Hobbies kit. The resistance soldiers are from a Zavida military kit, just resculpted those. Added tiny little fibre optics to the T-800's eyes, just to bring those to life. Not an easy thing to do with tiny 0.1mm drill and fibre optics, but I got there in the end. There we are, that one's been taken down by the resistance and is still trying to get to them, as the T-800s do. One's at the back also lit. And then above that we have the aerial hunter-killer circling overhead. Again, that's a kit by Pegasus Hobbies, which I added all the lighting to. It's all run off a little 9-volt battery hidden in the base. Burning building at the back, using a couple of flickering LEDs. And then below there, we move on to my 1953 War of the Worlds diorama. This is based as best I can on the look of the movie, again from 1953. The war machines themselves are another Pegasus Hobbies kit, but I added all the lighting to the heat rays. The military vehicles are various kits. Scratch built the rocket launcher and added all the lighting effects to that one, as well as the Sherman tank behind. A couple of little buildings in the background with the lights on. The heat rays are lit from underneath because just too small to fit any LEDs at the top, but they're still quite effective. Lots of little details going on in this one. There you've got a Sherman tank escaping into the nearby river to try and escape the heat ray, along with some of the soldiers running for their lives. Altogether, I think it took somewhere around 4 or 5 months to build this, just a little bit at a time. And then moving on below that is a Fujima kit of the Lotus Esprit from the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me, otherwise known as Wet Nelly. I just made a little diorama base for it, complete with the missile launching. And now we move on to the last area, and that has got some of my latest builds. Starting off with one of my earlier ones, which is the Nautilus submarine, again by Pegasus Hobbies, sitting in front of a couple of Star Trek bits and pieces. This is based on Captain Nemo's Nautilus submarine. Again, I added all the lighting to it and the diorama base, and the inside is complete with a globe, a settee, and at the back there you can just see one of the crewmen working in the engine room. Moving across, an Enterprise plaque and a cup. Then over to here we have my War of the Worlds based on the 2005 movie starring Tom Cruise. This was one of my early builds. It's the first time I attempted any sort of diorama. I was quite pleased with the way it came out. There's no lighting on this one. Like I say, it was my first attempt at a diorama, and I was quite pleased. Ruined buildings there. Again, that's an Airfix kit. Various scenic materials used here and there. And then moving down to 2 of my latest builds. Got the Mercury 9 rocket there waiting to be built. To the left we have the Space Ark, again from the 1950s sci-fi movie, When Worlds Collide. I added all the lighting just to give it more life. And the engine effect again is LEDs with the battery built into the base. Then moving over to my latest build, which I've just finished, and that is the Lunar Rocket, again from Pegasus Hobbies. This time I've added just a little bit extra to the base, a couple of aliens checking out this strange craft that's appeared on their world. And that just about wraps it up. Just a couple of my unbuilt models below this, amongst my others that I still haven't got to yet. And that's a couple of Battlestar Galactica pieces, the original series Galactica and the reboot series Pegasus. Anyway, thank you for watching and goodbye.